She's like a sickness in my brain, a vision standing by the window pane. She ripples through the blinds and leaves me in a daze.
Hello everybody, welcome to Coffee and Crime Time, and this is a new segment I'm going to try to do a couple of times a week, maybe more than a couple of times a week, depending on what's going on in the news, in the true crime world, what's happening. I want to talk about it for 15 to 20 minutes every day. Spend our mornings together, talk about the thing that we all love, which is true crime and current events. So let's get started on my first topic, which is the new Madeleine McCann documentary, which just aired on Netflix yesterday. If you're new to this channel or you're new to me, Madeleine McCann was one of the first cases I covered when I started redirecting my channel into the true crime realm. It was one of the first cases I'd covered because it had always been a case that stuck with me, and I have very strong opinions about this case. If you've never seen my Madeleine McCann videos, there's a part 1 and part 2, and I'll link them in the description box, so check those out. But I was really excited when I saw that Netflix was doing a Madeleine McCann documentary, and a lot of you guys tagged me in it. A lot of you guys messaged me on Instagram, on Twitter, emailed me to let me know about it. So I'm so excited that we're all on the same page. And I watched the first episode yesterday. And I watched the first episode yesterday twice. Once alone, and then the next time I made my husband, Adam, watch it with me. Because I was like, are you seeing what I'm seeing here? Am I wrong about this? I need to know if I'm just so close to the case and biased about what I believe. Am I seeing a sort of skirting around the parent issue, the parents of Madeleine McCann? Now, I know there's many more parts that I still have to get to, and I'm gonna watch at least one a day. I have kids, young kids, so it's not really something I can watch around them because it's disturbing. I don't want to really add to any anxiety. Being a kid is hard enough. So I'm going to try to at least watch one every day, and every time I watch one, I'll give a little update about what I thought about that episode. But let's talk about the first episode. Raise your hand if you've seen it. I wish you were here and I could see you, and I could see you raising your hands. But let me know if you've seen it. If you haven't, go over to Netflix and check it out. It's called The Disappearance of Madeleine McCann. I thought that because the McCanns were so adverse to Netflix putting this documentary out, that Netflix was going to basically lay them bare, like just come out and be pretty clear about the possible connection that Kate and Jerry McCann had to Madeleine's disappearance, at least to suggest that they knew more than they said they knew. And because Giancarlo Amaro was going to be on it, he wrote a book speaking out pretty publicly about his theory and opinion that Madeleine's parents were involved in her disappearance. So I was ready. I was ready for this documentary. I was ready to get into it and hear the actual theories about what could have happened and how Madeleine's parents could have been involved. And so far, I am not impressed. Two things really struck me about episode 1. Hold on, I clearly see my camera battery is about to die, so I have to switch it. How did this happen? Number 1, it seemed to me like this documentary was really kind of normalizing the fact that Madeleine's parents had left the kids, that the whole Tapas 9 had left their kids alone in a foreign country, in an unfamiliar apartment building, while they slept. They left them alone so that they could go out and eat and drink at a nearby tapas bar. But really, come on, the tapas bar is not really nearby. Jerry McCann said it was as if you were dining in your own backyard. And I don't believe that. I mean, we've all seen the maps. We've all seen how close the tapas bar actually was to the apartment. And personally, I wouldn't have felt comfortable leaving my children, 3 of my children, all under the age of 4, alone in an apartment building in a foreign country with the door to the apartment building unlocked so that you could easily get in and check on them every 15 to 20 minutes, which is what they allegedly said they did. Then they start talking about how Madeleine woke up the morning of her disappearance, and it was breakfast before they went out to enjoy the day in Portugal, and she said to her parents, "Why didn't you come last night when we cried?" referring to her and her little brother. And they were saying, oh, did somebody try to kidnap her the night before and they were interrupted and they came back to do it again? No, I don't think so. I think that Madeleine and her little brother woke up crying because they woke up in the middle of the night, as little children often do. I have a 2-year-old who wakes up at least 25 times a night. They wake up in the middle of the night, and they woke up in unfamiliar surroundings. They woke up in a place they didn't recognize. It wasn't their home. It wasn't a place they felt safe. And then they found out that there was no adults in the apartment. There's nobody there. They were alone. So yes, that would be, reason for a young child to cry for their parents. I don't believe at all, in my opinion, that somebody tried to kidnap her the night before and they were interrupted, and so that's why she cried. It just seems like this Netflix documentary is trying so hard to portray a situation where Madeleine was kidnapped. And of course it's possible, but they are pushing hard for it, talking about how dangerous Portugal is, talking about how close it is to Morocco and all these drugs and things come into Praia de Luz from Morocco. And it's just building this narrative that I don't necessarily believe is the most likely narrative. And then there was one point where they were talking about how they were going to the tapas bar, and the reason they left the kids in the apartment building was because they felt the night daycare that the resort provided, that most of the other tourists took advantage of, to put their kids in there under the safety and the watch of somebody who was trained to deal with children. They didn't think that night daycare was going to work for them. They would have to drop the kids off too late and pick them up too late, and that's what happens when you're Italian and you talk with your hands all the time. They would have to pick the kids up too late and drop them off too late, and it just wasn't going to work, that it was going to disrupt the kids' schedules. And once again, I call bullshit on that, because disrupt the kids' schedules, probably not. Probably it's going to disrupt your schedule. You're going to get a later start on your drinking and socializing with your adult friends, and you are going to have to worry about picking the kids up before maybe you're ready to come home. So that was definitely something that I felt was really misrepresented. And I'm a big proponent of not judging how people act in a tragedy. I'm a big proponent of not saying this is a normal way to react when something bad happens to you, but they just kept talking about the sorrow that Kate and Jerry were clearly showing, the absolute, heartbreak and anguish. And once again, I just did not see it. When they talked about the night Madeleine went missing, they said it was like 4 a.m. and Kate and Jerry finally laid down to get some sleep before getting up a couple of hours later to continue searching for Madeleine. And just can you imagine? And I know maybe if you don't have kids, that makes sense, but if you have children, I have a 7-year-old, I have a 2-year-old, I have a 17-year-old. If you have children, even if my 17-year-old was missing and didn't come back to the resort that night, I would not get in my bed and put my head down until I found her, much less my 3-year-old, right? So this is a little girl gone. You can't find her, no trace of her. There's no situation where you would find me going to sleep to rest for a couple of hours before I got up to continue searching for her. There's no way it wouldn't happen. I'm sorry, because she's 3. If you really think she got kidnapped, the 2 hours you're laying down to get some rest, she could be being put on a boat or put in a plane and taken out of the country. That 2 hours is crucial. There's no scenario that I would stop looking for any of my children, much less my 3-year-old who vanished out of the apartment building and is gone. I could not sleep. I'd be thinking about where she was. Was she crying? Was she lonely? Was she scared? Was she calling for me? My brain wouldn't let me sleep. So it's just, there's so much wrong with how the parents acted. And when they were giving the press conference, when they were saying, let us keep looking for Madeleine, give us our privacy, the reporters were saying, oh, they were in so much pain, clearly. Once again, I did not see that. I saw Kate McCann clutching Madeleine's little kitty, her little stuffed kitty that she always used. I saw Jerry reading a pre-written speech for him, probably written by somebody else, like a PR person, for him to read to the press, and looking down and reading that. I didn't see him speaking from the heart. I didn't see her at once ever look up and make eye contact with the cameras or really do anything. She looked down the entire time, and she had makeup on. I know these are little things, but what mother that has lost their 3-year-old child and is now going to go on camera and beg for their safe return is like, hold on, let me put some makeup on? because it's really important how I look in front of these cameras. That's just my opinion. Come for me, I don't care. That's how I feel about it. And once again, I'm looking at the way I would react. I'm looking at the way I would feel. I'm not necessarily saying that the way that Kate and Jerry acted after Madeleine went missing makes them guilty, because they seemed a little bit less upset than I would have been. But I am saying it's strange to me personally, and that's how I feel. So I am excited to watch part 2 of it tonight. I'm probably gonna watch it like when I take a shower. I always bring my phone in the shower with me because it's like the only quiet time I get. I have a busy day ahead of me. I have to finish researching the big case that I'm putting out next week for you guys. It's taken a lot of time, and I also have to record a podcast with my podcast buddies, Clarissa Sheik and John Crimes. We're doing a podcast and we're trying to get it ready to air. So I have to record that tonight, and then hopefully after that's done, I can jump in the shower, do my skincare, and watch part 2 or the episode 2 of the docuseries, and then get back on tomorrow and talk about it a little bit more with you guys if it changes. I'm really hoping it changes. I'm hoping at least they mention the fact that it was weird to leave your kids alone in an apartment building. They kept saying it was normal. This is, it's fairly normal. They thought it was safe. This is not normal to leave your kids alone in an apartment building. I don't care if you live in England or America or the moon. It's not normal. It's not normal, guys. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if you do it and you think I'm judging you. It's not normal. I want to talk really quick about the whole Sword and Scale podcast scandal that's been going on. And it just came to my attention because I have gotten so many recommendations from you guys as far as podcasts, and Sword and Scale has always been at the top of that recommendation list. And apparently the guy who runs Sword and Scale, I believe his name is Mike Boudat. Hold on. Yeah, so the podcaster's name is Mike Boudat, or Boudat. I hope I'm pronouncing it right, but it just came out 5 days ago. It says, Wondery drops Sword and Scale, admits controversy over host's social media posts. So Wondery is the podcast network that apparently was producing Sword and Scale, and apparently Mike got into some controversy online because of his social media presence. And if you guys want to look into it, you should look into it. There's a list of things that he's done and said on social media, but there's a lot of issues with the way he talks about and describes mental illness, sometimes even making fun of people who have mental illness or using it in a comical manner. His most controversial post, I believe, was on Instagram, and it happened on International Women's Day, which was just last week or the week before, where he said, I don't understand dumb C's, so the C word, which I will not say. I don't understand dumb C's. Maybe I should take one apart to see how it works. So it was pretty much like an uproar after that. And there's another podcaster who runs a podcast called Lore. His name's Aaron Mahnke, and I really love Lore. I've talked about Lore with you guys. Lore is literally my favorite thing to listen to in October around Halloween time when I'm driving, because it's creepy. It's really well researched. He has a great way of telling a story. If you guys like the way I tell a story, Aaron Mahnke is an amazing storyteller. There's nice, music in the background, which is not overwhelming, but still enough to add a creepy ambiance. I love Lore. I love Aaron Mahnke. I think he's a great guy. I guess that Mike blamed Aaron for his show being canceled, or in part for his show being canceled, because Aaron had spoken out against him on social media and the things he said. And Aaron's like, listen, I don't know what this guy's talking about. I don't even listen to his show. So I just voiced my opinion about the things he was saying, and I'm not responsible for his show ending, but he's still blaming me. So, there's like this whole podcast drama going on. Of course, when a lot of people who share the same passions and interests don't necessarily share the same viewpoints or personalities, you will have a clash. Now, I did start listening to Sword and Scale after you guys recommended it, and I really liked Sword and Scale. I did find that sometimes Mike could be a little abrasive, but since I've often been described as abrasive, and I've often been described as one of those people that you either love or hate, I get it. I don't judge people for their sense of humor, their sarcasm. I understand that that sometimes true crime can get so dark. You sometimes need to throw a little sarcasm or humor in just to keep yourself sane. So I get that. There's another podcast I listen to called Last Podcast on the Left, and the hosts are kind of the same. Like they'll throw in jokes, which sometimes I'm like, whoa, I wouldn't have said that. But at the same time, everybody has to tell their story and handle the very harsh reality of what they're talking about in their own way. So I don't judge. But a lot of the things that he has said on social media are kind of horrible and demeaning, and you do have freedom of speech. You can say whatever you want, but you can't not expect repercussions from that. You can't say things that are controversial or insulting to groups of people or even one person and not expect some sort of backlash from that. So I do believe that Patreon has decided to keep Sword and Scale and Mike Bodette on their platform despite all of this scandal and controversy, and Mike Bodette is offering his Sword and Scale podcast to paying Patreons. So at least he has found a way to continue in his own way, and the people who don't want to listen to him don't have to, and the people that want to, they can pay for that right or privilege, I guess. Maybe he'll go on YouTube. I think that Wondery dropping him was probably a good move on their part. I think it's important to take a stand. When you have a public figure who has a platform, they need to be a little bit more sensitive, and they need to be a little bit more careful about the persona that they kind of project to the public, especially on social media. I always try to be sensitive myself, and I mean, inside I am a sensitive person. I don't have any issues with groups of people or classes of people or races. There's nothing in me that would cause me to tweet anything controversial out, but there's often people who will try to pick apart the things you say and make it sound bad, especially if, they're a troll or they don't like you, and that's common. But when you're looking at Mike Bodette's post, or Mike Bodette's post, however you say his name, when you're looking at his Instagram and Twitter and Facebook posts, there is a pattern of somebody that really just doesn't give a crap about hurting anybody's feelings. And that's fine. If that's your personality, that's fine. You just cannot expect a large group of people in a time when it's definitely important to be politically correct and to be more sensitive. You can't expect to be accepted by the masses. So those are my feelings on the first episode of the Madeleine McCann documentary and on the whole Sword and Scale scandal. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know if there's anything you want me to cover in these coffee and true crime times. I'm really excited to spend a little more time with you guys on a regular basis. When you put out such long videos like I do once a week, they take a lot of time to research, they take a lot of time to record, they take a lot of time to edit. And I want to interact with you guys more on a regular basis and in a more relaxed environment where we can just kind of chat about things that are going on right now. So I'm excited to do this, and I hope you guys are excited too. Also, I just want to let you guys know I am going to CrimeCon June 7th through 9th in New Orleans. It's going to be at the Hilton Riverside. I'm really, really excited. I'm going to put a code in the description box, and if you want to go to CrimeCon in New Orleans and come up to my table on Podcast Row, where I will be meeting people and talking to them, please go ahead and use that code. It will give you 10% off your standard pass, and then you can come to New Orleans and you can meet me and we can talk and we can hang out. We can have a great time. I'm really excited to meet so many of you. I hope some of you can make it. So go ahead and click on that link in the description box, and if you purchase your standard CrimeCon pass, use the code STEPH19 and you will get 10% off, and then we can hang out and we can talk, and I'm really looking forward to it. Okay guys, stay kind and stay beautiful. I look forward to having coffee with you tomorrow, and I'll talk to you then.
It's in the
Bye.
way her body moves me, the way she grabs me and